right, we have descended back down into our secret lair here in the steam tunnels, somewhere outside of the metro Boston area. Steam gentlemen unite. Exactly. All powers accounted for. All secret handshakes exchanged. We are here. It is I, Josh the Birdman, here with you with the Steam Gentlemen, the podcast that has hopes and dreams to become powerful enough and influential enough to give you poor medical advice. Really, I've decided that is where we need to head, is really what's going on, so we can have enough influence that we can, that you can come to us for no particular reason and ask about your vaccine status or just what you should do on any given day in some kind of health influencer way. So now that you know really where we're headed with this, how you doing today, Rashawn? Want to really have fun, put you on the spot.
Doing good. I actually followed some medical advice from a fellow podcaster that will not be named but has initials JR, and put a little bug spray in my coffee and just to take care of some sniffles. So I'm doing great.
Perfect. Excellent. Oh, I'm glad.
You gotta use the DDT stuff. That's what this podcaster that will not name but has initials JR said. And then on top of that, I mean, I have a couple of ideas that I can run past you too. Also from this guy on TV that has the initials Dr. OZ. He also has some great medical advice I can share with you. You can all lose some weight. All we have to do is basically eat wood chips. So we'll go into that later.
I love it. Yes. Now it is funny that, we a couple of weeks ago talked about post-apocalyptic visions, and, who would have realized that the Instagram health influencer would have really led to the collapse of American society, right?
Me.
Well, then, Star Child, I gotta give you your intro then, because you were ahead of the curve. You saw this shit coming. You were the guy. You are the neighbor. When they escorted the other guy away in handcuffs, you were like, oh, I know that motherfucker was up to something the entire time.
He's a killer. Yeah, he did it. He did it. That was him. He did it.
I couldn't prove that he had bodies in the basement, but I am not surprised.
Right. Because, I embrace intentional stupidity as a rule. And so when you do, all of a sudden, everything falls into place. And good morning, listeners.
Absolutely. Top of the morning to you.
Top of the morning to
you. Cloudy
or good night if you're listening to us then, or
that is the beauty of this
happy
meeting.
Afternoon.
Right? Maybe you're stuck on your commute, or if you're one of our 8 to 10 listeners, whatever time of day,
wherever you are,
whatever time of day you choose to enjoy your Steam Gentlemen, we wish you well. But yes, if you embrace intentional stupidity, you're unlikely to be disappointed. Is I think with the moral of where we're going with this one for sure. But alas, no. We are here to talk pop culture. We are not here to tell you to drink bleach. We are not here to tell you to take horse dewormer or anything like that. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say, go ahead, get vaccinated. My kids got their first dose pretty recently. I mentioned that earlier as well. So we're happy about that. I don't know if it's related to the vaccine, but my kids discovered the Home Alone series recently. Maybe I can blame the vaccine for that. I don't know, but it's kind of interesting. It is interesting to see them rediscover my pop culture roots and all of those things, and see them watch these films again with the current lens. And something we were discussing earlier this week, I am impressed as hell with Kevin's dad, because that dude was pulling down some serious, and I mean serious, bank.
and like I shot back at you. I don't know, man. The mom looked like the breadwinner.
She could have been. I mean, we never got that sense of it. The only reason is there was a line in Home Alone 2 where the asshole uncle, who they keep inviting back, talks about how he's paying for the trip to Miami. And, we also assume that maybe he paid for the trip to Paris too. And this is late 80s here. The guy's got a sprawling mansion in the Chicago suburbs And yeah, and he takes his whole family, like his family and extended family, like her brother, I'm guessing, because he mentions his brother in New York in the second one, who we don't meet. So apparently he didn't make the cut for the trip to Miami, as well. But he's, that's a lot of money. I'm just thinking of the plane tickets alone, right?
But I invite you to think of a family that, funny enough, I think is actually just a few towns away in the metaverse of movie cinema, the Griswolds, because they're also in Illinois.
Yeah, you're right.
Don't forget, part of the plot of the holiday, the Christmas movie, is that Clark is completely underwater in debt.
Yeah.
And so, like, I would argue that really what you're seeing is a reflection of upper class white America, and or really America, but for the most part, let's be honest, the majority of that time where everyone was so upside down with credit that I would invite you to, you probably didn't see this, but there was a commercial like 10 years ago of a similar looking family. And the guy's like, basically like, I have this, I have that, I have all this. And then he's like, I think he's like, and I am in credit up to my eyeballs. And like, it's the exact same thing. It's a sprawling sort of upper class suburban, 6-room house and 3-car garage. And, guy looks like he has everything going for him and all sorts of debt. I think that's what you're really looking at. And again, the mom is the breadwinner. Once she starts taking over, the movie actually corrects itself. When it's all on the dad, who's a bumbling fool, probably in a no traction job with no career advancement whatsoever, probably been middling in that for the last 20 years while his wife started somewhere small because she was a woman and no one wanted to give her a chance, but she worked hard. She's probably like some high-powered lawyer in Illinois taking care of all this shit, probably representing the same company Griswold's worked for. And she's paying for all this while he gets to walk around looking like he's a breadwinner, because stereotypically we go with the patriarch, and he's kind of running it. But every time he does, they fucking leave their kid somewhere.
And I'm going to say Catherine O'Hara has the power haircut in the second movie. She gets that power late 80s, early 90s haircut going on with the
first movie, man. That was working girl 101 Sigourney Weaver power due right there.
Okay, all right. I thought the second was a little more like assertive. The first was kind of, she had a bit longer, and then the second, I remember that haircut as the 90s were coming in. Even the guys were getting it, which is kind of weird. But all right, that's how we rolled. But
and then Jennifer Aniston fucked it up.
Yeah, Jen. So much.
Yeah. I've said Jennifer Aniston.
I've said it before, and I'll say it again, and we won't get too diverted, but Friends is trash. Okay, moving on.
By the way, listeners, that was Brad Pitt crashing our podcast just to have that Jennifer Aniston shot. That was not one of that was Brad Pitt just randomly showing up. Like,
and we should be so lucky, and then we can tell you to buy essential oils after all that. That's all. That's, if we're lucky enough that Brad Pitt will come on here and we can tell him that essential oils would have solved this Jennifer Aniston problem, or
good luck with that.
Angelina Jolie problem.
I feel like my man's random enough to do it.
You never know. You never know if you're listening out there. But since we are discussing these, the pop culture minutia and really trying to dig these things apart, it brought me back to a place a little bit of a love letter I've been wanting to write here for a little while, and a little bit of a deep dive, because we haven't done one of those for a while on the Steam Gentlemen. And I want to take you back again to that period, that wonderful period of American life known as the early 90s, that little blissful little interlude we had with slap bracelets and boom boxes, and just that time of innocence. And I want to highlight, and I know he's got his own podcast, and I know there's no way in hell he listens to this podcast, but if anyone out there is in the verse can get this over to him, let him know. I'm here. I am here to deliver a love letter to the one and only Kevin Smith this morning. And yes, that probably was a record scratch for a bunch of you here, but Clerks 3 is coming out soon. So as we probably pushed that, genre a little too far, I wanted to take you back to a time when I was in film school. Yes, this was around 1994 as I start my start my 10 minutes here. And this little movie made this huge splash at the film circuit scene. It was a little film called Clerks. And I just think this movie deserves a relook. And if you haven't seen it for a while, go back, look at it. Yeah, the hairstyles may be a little bit old. Okay, we'll give you that. And we understand that some of it may not have aged so well. But this little movie, I think, captures so much of my own particular mindset and the zeitgeist of that particular age. It also really, I think, is the Steam Gentleman origin story. So taking it back, when I was in film school, we were all abuzz about this movie and the prospect of the idea of the independent filmmaker. This was the type of thing that was there to sort of keep us alive, that we were going to be the generation that was going to break the studio system. Here we were, right, out on our own. We were going to be the ones to go out and do rebel filmmaking and get distribution and do all of it and finally free up the artist. And here was this guy from New Jersey, this random dude who had done no less than sold his comic book collection for the initial, I think it was 20 grand, to get together the equipment to start shooting this movie. And he had done it all guerrilla style. He casted some of his friends. He brings in his friends to do it. He shoots it in his place of work, which was so perfect for that time. This film absolutely was a love song. I'm writing a love letter here because he wrote a love letter to our generation, to Generation X. Our parents had somehow failed completely upward into their six-figure jobs that, of course, they then proceeded to change into massive debt. We get it. Speaking about how we opened the show. And we were the generation that was manning, in my case, it was a Blockbuster Video. In his case, it was the Quick Stop convenience store, right? We were the generation doomed and deemed that this was all we were ever going to be worthy of. We were just going to be there to take care of the Quick Stop, to make sure that did you want fries with that, was really going to be the battle cry and the rallying cry of our generation, right? And also the tagline of this film was so perfect. It encapsulated exactly how all of us who felt like that, me working at the Blockbuster and any other menial jobs that we had, that we were told that we absolutely had to work and that it was going to be the best thing for us. The best line I still remember in the tagline was, just because they serve you doesn't mean they like you. And here was a man who spoke my language, because that's exactly what I was thinking, right? Take your new release and shove it up your ass. Was that what, most of the time what I was thinking as I was smiling and passing the video cassette across there. He worked in the Quick Stop. He worked in the video store. He was one of us, right? And this is why I'm really calling it the Steam Gentleman origin story. The film highlights a soliloquy, if you will, a monologue by one of the main characters of Randall, who works next door at the local video store. And he is sitting there one day looking at a video of Return of the Jedi. And it suddenly strikes him the geopolitical implications of this film, right? This film that we'd all grown up watching 100 times. Our very first Steam Gentleman episode was talking about the fuzzy little creatures that, of course, bring down and destroy the Empire. And he digs into the minutia of, wait, if they're still building the second Death Star, there must be contractors on there. There must be janitors. There must be a lot of non-combatants that this rebel empire has just shown up and killed everybody on. And he's weighing the emotional weight of a fictional world. And I think that was so much of what our generation does. It's the fact that we started a podcast on it. So I was just always astounded by, this first effort of a film